Welcome back to React Native Radio Podcast. Brought to you by Hotel Room Food. The only thing less appealing are these stupid intros I do. Episode 307, React Universe Recap.
Mazen, have you recovered from jet lag yet?
Not yet. You could ask me that question again tomorrow. I fell asleep on the couch yesterday at like 6 p.m. And then my son abruptly woke me up by swinging his baseball bat at me. So that's what I get. It was not a real baseball bat. It's like those squishy baseball bats.
Yes.
But yeah, and then I fell asleep again at like 9. And woke up a couple times. So hopefully tonight is the night when I'm back to normal.
How about you, Derek?
More or less. Definitely need more sleep to catch up. But I think I'm kind of back to my normal schedule pretty close because of advice that Mazen gave me.
What was the advice?
When you're traveling west, try not to sleep on the plane. So I had 12 hours worth of flying. And I tried my best not to fall asleep. And maybe I passed out a couple of times. But for the most part, I think I did it and got home and tried not to go to bed till like 8 p.m. And I think it worked. It was good advice, Mazen.
Sorry for torturing you and making you stay up on a 12-hour flight.
Yeah. I just watched a lot of bad movies.
I did not take that advice at all. I slept on the plane as much as I could. And then when I got home, I was good until about 7:30, and then I was out. And I woke up at 7:30 a.m. I had 12 hours of sleep.
Nice.
And you know what? Yesterday, I felt pretty dang good. The only thing was my brother-in-law came over to work out with me, and I made it through about half the workout, and then I was like, I'm just totally exhausted. I can't do any more. And so we cut it short there. But feeling pretty good today. I actually kind of shockingly fast got through it. So feeling pretty good about that. Drink lots of water, all the things that they tell you, People are wondering why we're talking about jet lag. So let's get into this really quickly. I'm Jamon Holmgren, your host, friendly CTO of Infinite Red, and I am in the now turning to fall Pacific Northwest with my wife and 4 kids. Well, 3 of the 4 kids. The other one's moved out. I play hockey. That's starting up. Actually, already happened this weekend. I wasn't there, but we won. We're really, really good this year. we're kind of destroying teams. And I broke my tractor before I went to Poland. That's a whole nother story. I'm joined today by my co-host, Mazen. Robin isn't here today. And also, that new voice you heard is a guest host, Derek Greenberg. I'll introduce him in just a second. Mazen lives in Durham, North Carolina with his wife and baseball bat swinging toddler. He's a former pro soccer player and coach and a senior React Native engineer here at Infinite Red. Derek Greenberg, really nice to have you on, Derek. Derek lives in Pleasanton, California with his wife, Amy. He's a principal software engineer here at Infinite Red. We've been working together for nearly a decade now.
Yeah.
And he also works with me and Gant Laborde in our sales pipeline. Welcome, Derek.
Hello.
I'm really happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks very much. Nice to be here.
Before we get into the topic, let's hear from our sponsor. Infinite Red is a premier React Native consultancy located fully remote in the US. We're a team of 30 senior plus React Native developers and support staff and have been doing this for nearly a decade. If you're looking for React Native expertise for your next project, hit us up at infinite.red/React Native, and you'll probably get an email back from Derek. Don't forget to mention that you heard about us through the React Native Radio Podcast. All right, let's get into our topic for today. We are talking about React Universe Conference in 2024. This is a recap of our experience. And the 3 of us went. Myself, Mazen, and Derek. We all went to Poland for that. I first want to lead off. Derek, was this different? You went last year in 2023 to what then was called React Native EU. We'll talk about that in a second. Was this different from your experience last time going to Poland?
Oh, yeah, it was very different. Last time, got off the plane, arrived in Wrocław and started feeling not so great, a little sick. And I had never had COVID before, so I wasn't really sure, what the symptoms would be. But something wasn't quite right. And when I first ran into, Jamon at the hotel, and normally, we're huggers, and I want to come up and give him a big hug. And just the instinct in me said, no. I said, Jamon, something's not right with me. I'm not going to hug you.
I was very offended.
Yeah, I was thinking, something's not quite right. But I had brought a COVID test with me. So went back to my room and I took it. And of course I was positive. I'm like, oh no. So I spent the entire week in my room at the Zoo Hotel in Wrocław, Poland. Never really left other than to pick up food from the restaurant there, which only serves dinner.
Yeah.
So I only ate Thai food for an entire week in Poland. So I never got to taste a single pierogi.
Oh, man.
And I spent the whole time in my room going, like kind of sleeping and watching. They have like this music video channel, which I really love, shows, Polish music videos, which is fantastic. That kept me going. And then at the end of the week, I kind of opened the door and left and went to the airport. And that's all I got to experience. So this year was quite different.
Wow. Yeah, I remember telling you. So it was me, Mark Ricker, and you that were supposed to be going,
right?
And I was giving a talk, and Mark was along, and I remember telling you afterward, like, Derek, we have to get you back here next year. Like, we have to erase that from your memory try again. That was awful. Well, we will talk more about your experience and how it was different.
Sure.
Mazen, was this your first time to Poland?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so what did you think?
I thought it was really fun. Attending a conference is a little bit different than visiting a city, obviously, and walking around and stuff. But I'm glad we were able to put in some time before and after to do some walking and get more steps than I usually do here in my home office.
Yeah,
and the pierogies are very good.
Yes, very good.
Yeah, having lived in New York for a while, there's a big Polish community out there. So we ask my mother-in-law every now and then when she's coming down to bring us frozen pierogies. Those are good, but these are like on a whole other level. I will say my favorite pierogies were the dessert chocolate pierogies that we had.
Yes, those were so good.
Oh,
so good. Yeah. But it was nice to kind of visit another side of Europe. I've been to a couple cities in Europe, so it was nice.
Yeah.
This is the furthest east.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, it was super nice to see people that I've gotten to know from last year. And of course, Wrocław itself is a beautiful city. It's one of my favorite cities in Europe. And the weather was just absolutely fantastic. I've been there when it's been rainy and cold, and that's not so fun. I mean, it's still fun, but it's not the same. Last year was just beautiful, and I was super hoping that it would be the same, and it was. In fact, it was probably a little warm on some days, but just a beautiful, beautiful time there. We were there to go to React Universe Conf, which, if you're not familiar, is actually a rebrand of React Native EU, which has been going on for many years, and we've gone there several times. In fact, last year, Mark and I in RNR 275, I believe it was. Yes, 275, did a recap of last year's, and that was named React Native EU. But they decided to shift it to include both React Web content and React Native content. So of us three, even though Derek was in the vicinity, he didn't get to didn't get to be at the conference last year. I will have to kind of give my take, and I did notice more web content, more React content, more web developers around than last year. Last year was more React Native focused. There was still a lot of React Native content, but it was a little bit different. But it's such a great conference regardless, and there were a lot of really interesting talks that applied to React Native, even if they're React content. I felt like it was a good mix. I was a little worried about that when I heard about the rebrand at first. Like, wow, we're going to lose, one of the React Native conferences. Of course, ours, Chain React, is still just React Native. I was a little worried, but I think they pulled it off. I think it went pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I think out of the attendees that I spoke to, I think I spoke to an equal amount of React and React Native attendees. So there was a lot there. And like you said, the talks were, even the React ones that were there also still applied, right? I mean, the one that kind of comes to mind is Dan Abramov, who, traditionally we know him as a React person, didn't necessarily do one on specifically React or React Native. I don't want to spoil it when it comes out for him, but his talk kind of applied to both, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, it has to do with his experience working on Blue Sky,
Yes.
which is a social media network, sort of like Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of talks, Mazen, you gave your first talk at a conference. Congratulations. That was pretty awesome. How was the experience overall? You went to the speaker dinner?
Yeah, it was great. I think Callstack were really welcoming, and it was fun to kind of be on that other side. When we put on Chain React, we talk about, having the speakers and all the different events we're going to send them to and all. Yeah, so the speakers dinner was great. I got to meet a lot of the speakers and also put a lot of Twitter profile pictures to actual humans walking around kind of thing, which was cool. So it was nice. It was really nice to meet everyone. And we, for the dinner, they had a traditional Polish barbecue, which was also nice to experience.
How nervous were you about your talk? Like, obviously, this is your first one. You're going to be in front of 600 developers. And were you really nervous going into, you were like day 2 in the afternoon. So
yeah, I was
had to think about it.
Yeah, I was like the second to last talk. Yeah. I won't lie to you and tell you that at one point I was mapping out how far away the airport was. But no, I eventually got over that and was able to brave the stage.
Yeah. Talk about your talk. Like, what was your topic all about, and how did you feel it went?
Yeah. So it was about internationalization and basically capturing a more global market, because there are so many users out there that are non-English native speakers. I think it was about 6.6 billion people don't speak English as their first or second language.
A lot of our audience, probably English isn't their first language necessarily.
Correct. Yeah. And part of that is, all online content is like 52% of it is English. And when you talk about like Mandarin, who alone has, over 1 billion people, that's only 1.3. So that's a lot of, users we're keeping on. That's kind of where my talk was going. I thought it went really well. And the reception I got after the talk was amazing, because I got to speak to people who were like, thank you for talking about this. Like, we want to do it, and I'm going to take, parts of your talk that you mentioned to my boss to be like, look, people are talking about this. We need to do it. We need to capture that more global market. I thought it went great, and it was very nice to hear that feedback from others. It kind of was fulfilling and kind of full circle for me.
Derek, what did you think of Mazen's talk? You and I sat in the front row.
Oh, it was just fantastic. Mazen was so good.
Yeah.
And he did like my favorite thing for a speaker. And because it takes extra work to do this. And Mazen did the work. He memorized the entire talk.
Yes.
And was able to walk back and forth, face the audience, make eye contact, point things out, not instead of being behind a podium, reading his notes. It was a true presentation. It was just fantastic. Got a great response too.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. We've had the privilege of seeing Robin as well give her first talk at a conference at Chain React. So now, obviously Mazen as well. And actually, a question for you, Mazen. Do you feel like your time behind the mic here helped prepare you for that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I do think all the stuff that we do in preparation, so listeners don't get to see this, but we do have a run through that we do before every episode. And I think, Derek, we kind of talked to you about it. Leave space, talk slowly. Sometimes I do ramble and just go on because it's like something I'm either passionate about or something, as a developer, well.
I would never do that.
Yeah. When I say ramble, I mean speak fast. But being behind the microphone here does help. But being in front of 600 plus people is a different beast. I will
where you
say
can
that.
see them. Yeah. Like we're in front of thousands right now because we have, 6,500 subscribers, but we're not seeing all of your beautiful faces right now.
I will say though, the one feedback I have for anyone out there that wants to give a talk is find that one person in the front row who's engaging with you and give your talk to them. I was fortunate enough that it was the two of you.
Yes.
A co-sponsor that was in the booth next to us I was making eye contact with him. Ricardo from Meta, who's been on the episode before. And there was a new lady, Arushi Kisarwani, who's also from Meta, who was in the front row. And I feel like I gave the talk to her. I haven't told her this yet. I'm probably going to reach out after this recording.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
She was very
that's
engaging,
awesome.
very smiley to me and like looking back and forth. And I gave my talk to her essentially, which helped.
Yeah. I love that. And you're right. Like that sort of active listening and engagement really kind of feeds into it and will settle you down because, you know, you have that support. It's really a friendly crowd there at React Universe, I think. And I don't know. I love, and I really enjoyed your talk. I thought it was very technically useful, as well as just from a product standpoint. Like you talked about the reasons for internationalization. You went pretty in depth on right to left languages, which of course your first language is Arabic, which is a right to left language. And there's many more, native right to left language speakers. You gave very practical code snippets on how to handle all of this. And of course, pitched Ignite, which already has this stuff built in, thanks to you and
Exactly.
Harris and some others.
Yeah.
So I think that it went fantastic. You really did a great job. And super, super proud of you, how you did that.
Thank you.
Also, thanks for doing the talk so I didn't have to. So I could just sit back and relax and chat with people and support you and Derek in what you were doing, which you really didn't need much support, but I'll just pretend like I was super key there. And mostly just enjoy being there in Wrocław and talking to everybody and meeting everybody. Derek, I want to ask you about the booth. So we have had various, setups in the past with the booth, but usually our version of a booth is, a sign on a table and we're gone from it because we're out talking to people. We decided this year with Gant to take it a little more seriously, as well as Justin, I should say, and to take it a little more seriously and, have someone there who could answer questions and that sort of thing. And how'd you feel it went? What did you feel the impact was?
Well, first of all, it was a fantastic experience for me. I really enjoyed myself. I met a lot of people. We got quite a lot of traffic. Before we left for Poland, my wife and I went shopping for what are kind of fun things to put out on the table. Because we had, Infinite Red stickers, but we wanted some more things, candy and so we got things like glow sticks and just kind of fun little things to put out. And I weighed it actually before I put it in the suitcase. It was 7 pounds of stuff.
Yeah. One
thing that was really kind of cool about it is I found out just how much of an impact that React Native Radio has. So many people came up and saying, we love React Native Radio.
That's awesome.
We listen to it all the time. There was one person I spoke with who is making it his task to listen to all of them. Now we're the latest published episode is 306.
Yeah.
He started in 1.
Wow.
And he's working his way through it. But that's kind of, those are the type of people I met. So that was really cool. And the other thing was a lot of people are reading the React Native newsletter, I found out.
Yeah.
Which I'm the editor-in-chief of that. So that was really nice to hear that people are reading it.
Real quick, since, obviously people probably know what React Native Radio is, given that that's what this is, but they may not know what the newsletter is. Can you give a quick little elevator pitch for it?
Yeah, I can. The release cadence is once a month. Pretty much all that's in the newsletter are articles that our developers, Infinite Red's developers, suggest through a Slack channel we have and say, I'm interested in this, or this is really cool. Have you heard about this? It's pre-curated, in that anything that goes in the newsletter is something that our developers think is exciting and worthy. They want to share with each other. And then my job is to share it with you, with other people. So that's really what the newsletter is. It's curated and it's got some pretty special stuff in it.
Email newsletters kind of have a bad rap in a lot of ways, and probably for good reason. A lot of them, the value is just not so high, and it's a lot of kind of noise and filling up your inbox. Yeah. We really take this seriously. and by we, I mean Derek, takes this very seriously, where really nothing makes it into the newsletter unless, like you said, it's like super interesting. And React Native focused, of course. So
Yeah,
definitely check
exactly.
that out. reactnativenewsletter.com. It'll make Derek very happy if you
It will.
subscribe.
Please do.
I noticed a lot of people talking about Ignite, coming up to me and talking about Ignite, which was cool, which is, of course, our boilerplate project starter kit for React Native and Expo. And so a lot of people have used it. And I don't know, it's always good to get feedback like that.
I did get a lot of feedback, people saying they are using Ignite. They did use Ignite to init their app, and their app is currently on the App Store. So that's great to hear. And I do think if you're listening to this and you're one of those people, reach out to us, let us know. We'll probably put out a blog post, feature your app, and get your name out there, kind of thing, because we love hearing that you've used our app to help you get further along in your careers at your company, and would love to kind of give you that feedback. And also let us know if you have feedback for Ignite. I mean, someone wanted to add Hindi to the internationalization, and we should be merging that in soon. So that's awesome.
And something else that was kind of cool for me was, so last year I actually gave a talk on Flame AI, which is a CLI for upgrading. In this case, it has a few different tools, but one is upgrading React Native projects to the latest version, because upgrades are always tough. And definitely go, check out that talk. I think it's worth watching, whether you want to use Flame AI or not, just to kind of get a sense for how I think about these tools. But a lot of people came up to me, quite a few people actually came up to me and said, hey, I've been using Flame AI to upgrade my React Native app, and it's been working pretty well. And, there's always a little bit of manual work, but it's taken a lot of the load off, which was pretty cool. Now, I did announce recently that I'm discontinuing it. And the reason is because I think that we can achieve the same sort of, I don't know, like developer experience through some of the other tools that have big teams behind them, unlike, me working on it in my spare time. So Flame AI itself is probably not going to keep going, but the concepts I think are still pretty cool. And it was super neat to have people reaching out and talking with me. I think that's all we have time for today, but I do want to take a little bit of time and thank CallStack for hosting us and being so gracious. They're always so amazing. Of course, Mike Grabowski, who's now back as CTO of CallStack. Congrats, Mike. It was great to hang out with him. I got to see Anna, their co-founder, for a little while. She's not as involved day to day with CallStack, but it was cool to see her. And of course, so many other people. Wukash from the React Native, let's see, what is it? React? They rebranded that as well. The other podcast, React Universe.
Yeah, I think it was like React Native.
I think it's React Universe
show podcast.
It was that. Yeah, that's right.
That's
and
what it
now
was
it's
before.
React Universe podcast or something like that. So Wukash is always cool. I enjoy hanging out with him. There's just so many others. Mihao and I don't know. I'm forgetting a whole bunch of people. Matoush.
Nice.
Super cool. Thank you all at CallStack for hosting us. And of course, we enjoy hosting them at Chain React. Also caught up with some Software Mansion folks. Played my usual chess game against Shishov from Software Mansion. Lost. Although I will say I had a chance. I had my chances. He's a lot better than I am, but I had my chances. We are now 2-2 against each other. So
nice.
yeah, that was pretty fun. Can't wait to go back. Really hoping that we'll get another chance to go back next year and hopefully see you all. That's all we have today. Thanks, everybody. We will see you all next time. Bye.
As always, thanks to our production team, with editor Todd Worth, our assistant editor, this guy, Jed Bartosky, our director of communications and episode release coordinator, Justin Husky, and our guest coordinator, Derek Greenberg. Our producer and host is Jamon Holmgren, and executive producers and hosts are Robin Hines and Mazen Shami. Thanks to our sponsor, Infinite Red. Check us out at infinite.red/React Native. A special thanks to all of you listening today. Make sure to subscribe to React Native Radio wherever you get your podcasts. And leave us a review. We'd love to hear what you think.